Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I'm David Mathis. Thank you guys for tuning back in. I really appreciate it. Your guys' support and the growth has just been tremendous. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Today's video, I want to talk about the perfect diet plan and the perfect training program. Okay? It doesn't exist. You hear all the time people trying to push, I have the perfect program for you. I have the perfect weight loss solution. I have the perfect way to put on muscle for you. And although it might look good on paper, that's not always reality. We are all individuals. We have different metabolisms. We have different lifestyles. We have different choices, different preferences, things like that, different goals, right? So to have a perfect diet plan and a perfect training program laid out is just a fallacy. It's not possible. There's going to be things that happen along the way, and a good coach has to be able to adjust on the fly, right? Part of what makes a coach great is not providing you with the perfect plan right off the bat or the perfect setup for your diet. What makes a coach great is the ability to take what you have, your situations, your psychology, your lifestyle, your preferences, everything into account and make changes on the fly based on what you need. Not what the plan says you need, but what you actually need, because there's sometimes a disconnect between a perfectly laid out plan and what's actually taking place with the individual, with the client. So a coach has to be able to recognize this, use experience, use education, use case studies that they've seen, but also have this feel for just what needs to be done. Coaching is an art form. I know a lot of people kind of disagree with that in some ways, but I think that if you really broke it down, you have to understand and you have to admit that it is an art form. Not everybody can be a good coach. Everybody can give you a plan, right? Everybody can set your macros. But what happens when stuff goes awry? What happens when you're not making any progress? What happens when you have this stressful life event? What happens when, you're a woman and you have your menstrual cycle? Like, how does that affect change in your training? How does that affect change in your diet? This is something that a good coach has to take into account. And that's why I don't believe in a perfectly laid out plan. I'll give you a training program. I'll give you a starting, macro plan, but everything is subject to change along the way. With the diet, for example, check-ins weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, are very necessary to see what's going on. Checking in with your clients, seeing what's happening in their life. Is this stressful time keeping them from being adherent to their plans? Things like that. You have to be able to throw some psychology in that and understand that your perfect diet plan is not perfect because it's not working for them. So you have to be able to talk to your client, understand what's happening, take all the information you're given based on their biological markers and what they're telling you from an emotional and a mental standpoint, and be able to adjust on the fly. Training programs, there is no perfect training program because, as we've seen, there are hundreds and thousands of different ways to train that are all successful. You can do blood flow restriction training using 30% of your 1 rep max, doing sets of 30, 15, 15, 15, and still induce muscle hypertrophy, right? How many different strength programs do you see out there? How many different strength gurus do you see out there pushing a different way? And it all produces results, right? Yes, some better than others, but they produce results. And you know why? Because you put in the effort, you put in the work. So don't buy into this perfect diet plan, perfect training program. You need to connect with a coach that understands that you are an individual, that you are going to have specific needs. You are going to need changes along the way, and they're going to have to be able to facilitate that. So if any coach is coming to you with this, I've got a perfect diet plan for you, I've got a perfect training program for you, it's going to work automatically, I would run, because it really comes down to, it depends, right? Is this going to work? Well, it depends on if you're adherent to it, if your life is not super stressful, if you like the form of dieting or whatever process, you're going through. Same with the training. Do you enjoy that type of training? How many days a week are you able to actually commit to your training? Can you be honest with yourself that you're putting in the effort needed for the change and the patience? So a lot of times, coaches, content, influencers, we get questions like, what if this happens? Or I want to do this, what do I need to do? And we answer, it depends. Because it really does, guys. There's a lot of factors that a good coach will take into consideration before giving you a recommendation. And oftentimes, when I get a question like that, I respond with these questions that I would ask as a coach, right? And people are like, oh, that's a lot more in depth than I thought it was going to be. And it is. But if you want a truly efficient answer and one that you can actually use, you have to understand that there's a lot of different things that go into it, and it depends a lot on certain situations. And that's where a good coach will come in and tell you, listen, this isn't working, right? It's not that the plan is bad. It's not that, this or that. It's just that for you, this is not working. We need to make a change. So you need to find someone that is not going to just throw these fallacies at you that this is a perfect plan, it's going to work no matter what, because it's not. It's not if you're not going to buy into it. It's not if you're not going to be adherent to it. It's not if it's not going to fit your lifestyle. So just keep some of those things in mind. There is no perfect diet plan. There is no perfect training program. We've seen hundreds and thousands of different diets. We've seen hundreds and thousands of different training programs, and they work. But it all comes down to working if you work and it works for you. So hopefully this helps a little bit, guys. If you guys got any questions, please reach out to me. You can find me, david@biolane.com, on Instagram @MathisFitness. I have a website, www.coachdavidmathis.com. I'd love to work with you, help you out a little bit if you guys are looking for some coaching. Have a great day. Hit the little notification button, like, subscribe, and share if you don't mind.